anything.
Well, and their problem was they had to get an actor that knew Kung Fu at least a little bit because they didn't give him the mask, which means you couldn't use a stunt double now.
Yeah.
And so...
You should have, from the very first episode of Season 1, like Daredevil, just give him the mask. Just give him the mask and put a stunt double in, and you know...
No one cared who I was.
That, or if they just used like the camera angles and cut it
correctly,
better. Like it could have been great. Like I saw potential in the one scene I saw, but I almost threw up watching it.
Wait, was it not necessarily the van scene?
No, it was like I want to say it was like in a cave or something. Okay. And I saw him try to elbow somebody, and it was clearly like 2 feet.
Oh,
from
this is
the
Defenders.
Yeah.
This is Defenders.
Yeah.
One iconic one where he completely...
Like, it's so bad, and everything I've heard has been the exact same thing, and I'm like, this is
well, and that's why the choreography in Daredevil is so much better. One, you have a mask, so you can do a stunt double. Yeah. But two, Daredevil doesn't practice a specific martial art, and so you just have him doing flips and stuff like that, and people's like, yeah, martial arts. With Kung Fu, it had to be, because that's what he practices, Kung Fu. So it had to be that specific martial art. And that killed him at times, I think, with the choreography in that, too. Iron Fist isn't worth watching. There's nothing in it that is worth watching.
Anything good.
Colleen Wing is worth watching, but not enough to watch the entire season.
Yeah. So what would you say in terms of then the Purple Man for Jessica Jones? Because that was
incredible.
That's what kept me watching as much as I did.
All of us agree with that.
Because David Tennant did so good.
Yes.
Like I was so intrigued by just what little bit of screen time I've seen of him. Like I was like, I want to find out what he does next or what he said.
He was a great character, but the Jessica Jones character was just so horribly awry. It was so bad.
It was bad. I don't want to see her back. No. I don't want to see Iron Fist back.
No.
I don't want to see Luke Cage
back.
I
think Jessica Jones is coming next month.
Coming where?
To Netflix to wrap up.
Are we going to have to watch it?
I personally don't want to watch it.
Yeah.
Let's all make a vow right now.
We're
not watching
this. First of all, I'm not interested. Second of all, I don't really feel like skipping through all that sexual content to watch it.
And not even sexual content, like bad acting. Just really bad storyline.
I think her acting is okay.
No, it was a bad storyline. It was badly written. It was badly choreographed.
I feel the same way about her as I do about the actor that plays Iron Fist, Danny Rand. I don't know if their acting is bad or if the writing was just so terrible that even good acting couldn't overcome it.
Iron Fist Season 1 was written by the same guy who wrote the Inhuman season, and both of those were absolutely atrocious. So I think we could say it's Scott Buck who wrote those seasons.
Scott Buck, you're fired!
Yes, exactly.
I want Spider-Man!
I think we should move on to our next topic.
Let's skip it. Yeah, let's definitely skip it.
With good writing. Better. Sorry, I was reading something else. All right, so I said at the top we're talking about Endgame. We've got 3 Endgame topics. Before we do that, in podcast commercial, you have to listen to it unless you hit the fast forward button. Tyler, tell us about your new company that you're part of. It's not necessarily yours, part yours.
Yeah, so
the cut down version.
Yeah,
go for it.
Me and a couple friends back home started a small hand forged knife company called Leo Knifeworks. We're gonna have 2 sizes of stock knives. Well, as stock as you can get by hand forging them.
Hand forged knives, yes.
Yeah. We're going to have a 2 to 3 inch size, for smaller tasks, and a standard 4 to, roughly 4 inches hunting knife. There's a little line head stamp on it. It's really cool, and we're also going to take custom orders. Which is both really freeing because it means we can do some more fun stuff than just stamping out not stamping out, but working on a lot of similar knives. But it also means that there's the possibility for some really intimidating designs that I've seen people draw, and I really don't want to have to try and forge them out. Yeah. But it's really cool. I'm really excited. We launched this past Sunday.
Awesome sauce. Well, awesome. Where can they find you? Where can they order if they want a knife? Give us that information.
So you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Leo Knifeworks. We're also on Instagram and Twitter, where you can look up Leo Knifeworks. And if you want to email us and contact us that way, it's leoknifeworks@gmail.com.
Awesome sauce. We'll put that on our. Cool. We'll put that out on the page, and hopefully you get so many knives that you can't do anything else with your life.
Yeah, remember we get 100% cut.
Well, no. How many people are there?
No, but it was cut.
97% cut. We get the 97%.
Well, and we're actually getting cut by the knives.
Right.
Yeah.
That's fair. And now back to our regularly scheduled programming. End Game. So we're 2 months away?
Almost 2 months.
Almost 2 months
away.
Can't wait. I can't wait. None of us can wait. Tyler, can you wait?
No, I'm super excited.
So we've got 3 topics, and I'm going to tell you the 3, and we'll just hop into this. First off is the runtime / the idea of an intermission, and that was today's poll, and we'll talk about that. 2, Drucker posted a picture a few days ago that showed the new costumes for the original 6 Avengers, and we're going to talk about those, including the fact that Hulk actually has a costume on, which is a big thing. We'll talk about that. And then 3, and is the most interesting to me, in my opinion, the Russo brothers talked about having Captain Marvel in this movie and the challenges that it presents. So we're going to talk about those.
Yes.
Why don't we start with the costumes?
Okay.
Why don't we start with the costumes? I'll tell you what I loved first. I loved that it's not necessarily even the costume. I loved that Natasha has her red hair back. That's like iconic in the comic books. I know
because they gave her the ombre with the blonde and the red. It should have been all red.
But it's better. I liked it,
and hopefully we see her with all red. But I don't like it with.
I find it weird that you know what an ombre is.
I know because my wife.
I know.
Do you think I'm that classy that I would know this?
I don't know what it is.
Steph is probably watching right now, and she's like, "Tony, I told you what an ombre is," and I'm like, "I already know what an ombre is."
Right, but I know
what an omelet is.
Yeah.
I wish it was all red. Otherwise, I actually liked. I think I like Cap's uniform the best.
The scales.
I love the scales on his armor that they put there. That I loved it. I liked that they incorporated more gold into Iron Man's armor to look more like a comic version.
But the fans have been clamoring for that, for a suit that looks closer to his comic book iterations, which I didn't want because let's all be honest, it looks like crap. His comic book iterations, especially his first ones, and I'm not talking about the giant metal.
The very first ones were bad.
For his first 30 years, it looked terrible. And I'm like, I don't want that. I liked now. I wasn't in love with his Infinity War suit. Really? The nanotech I liked, but I wasn't in love with his My favorite suit is still the Mark. I think it's technically the Mark III. It's the suit he uses in the very first Iron Man movie.
Okay.
Once he paints it.
My favorite might be from the first Avengers, or probably Age of Ultron Avengers actually.
Okay.
Right now.
I liked that look. I wasn't a huge fan of the new one with the red and gold, almost kind of like stripy in him instead of just red and gold. But I agree. Tyler, what was your favorite that you think? And you could take one of ours.
I was going to say, I think I'd have to agree with you on that Iron Man 1. I think you're right with the Mark III. I mean, it might be the fact that we saw the entire process of him designing it, and then him choosing the colors, and hot rod red. Oh, and throw some gold accents on there too.
Oh, of course, that'll keep a low profile.
And I'm like, and I just absolutely, it might just be that I love that scene and that line in general, but I mean that's kind of what I think of when I think of Iron Man. Even when I'm thinking back to all the TV iterations and the cartoons, or
it's
a
the
lot
red
of
gold,
or the more or some of the comic iterations. That's what I picture.
Right.
The circle on the chest, the classic Iron Man. That I feel is probably the most iconic out of all of them, and it is more or less what launched everything that we have now.
True.
So that all accumulates in that definitely being my favorite design.
Now let's have you talk about this real quick. Ronnie asked.
I'm actually going to go with the Ronnie thing, and my favorite was definitely Hulk. I think it's a different. Ever since he got beat up by Thanos and pummeled into oblivion through the space bridge and blah blah blah, I think it was great that he actually might have a. Oh no, never mind. All right,
you're dying.
Yeah, I'm dying. It's just. I thought the internet was going out. I'm like, no.
Excuse me.
I think in the pictures, there was a lot of rumors on what different Hulk that they were going to go with. Were they going to go with Grey Hulk? Were they going to go with a more sophisticated Bruce Banner-led Hulk?
Professor Hulk.
Professor Hulk?
Yep.
Or are they going to go with a World Breaker Hulk? Someone who is more powerful than Thanos has ever gone against, for him to actually have someone to battle it strength-wise.
Punch.
And I think from all the alliterations that they've had on TV, or not TV, but in all the advertisements, they're going with Professor Hulk from the looks of it.
Right.
And I'm okay with that. I mean, they don't need an overpowered superhero.
They already have
such as...
And Captain Marvel, which, by the way, comes out in a month.
Yeah.
Which I know I'm the only one of the three of us that are like actually really excited for this movie.
I'm excited for it.
But both of you have poo-pooed it. You both have. Yes, you have. Both of you have already been poo-pooing this movie. I'm really excited for it. Are you excited for it, Tyler?
I'm kind of excited. Again, it's not something that I'm like overly like. I definitely.
It's not Endgame or Infinity War.
Yeah.
No, but again, it's one of those characters that I like. There's definitely something there. I mean, Captain Marvel has been an integral part of the comics for a long time.
Marvel Universe for a long time.
Whether it was the guy or the girl.
Well, yeah.
But that being said, it's still not a character that makes me go, oh, this is definitely something I need to see. I have no doubt I'll see it when it comes out, but I'm definitely not going to a midnight or an 8 o'clock showing the night before.
Oh, no, neither are we. We're going to a 9 o'clock show.
Definitely not 8.
By the way, if you'd like to join the Weekly Nerd, we go at 9 o'clock.
Is that what the official time was? 9
Yeah.
Did you look it up?
Well, no, we have...
I'll double check the time.
Maddie and I have worship team practice, and so we have to wait till
that's good.
And then we get to eat dinner before we go.
Here's what was said, basically, in a nutshell. And the article was posted, Drucker posted it on our Facebook page. That basically the Russo brothers talked about the fact that one of the reasons they love having Captain America be kind of their character since in the MCU is that he's believable. He's a super soldier. He's super strong. He's quick. He's smart. All this stuff. But he's human. He feels human things. He can be beaten, like just beaten. Just that's the way it is. And so they mentioned that his greatest superpower is his courage. That's the thing. He says it twice in different movies. Yeah. I could do this all day.
He's got great tenacity.
Because that's just what he is. He doesn't give up, and they like that. And so they talked about this idea of having Captain Marvel in Endgame, who is supposed to be, they're building her up, and we'll see what happens in her own movie, but they're building her up as this super powerful being, powerful enough to take on Thanos one-on-one. The only one in the Marvel Universe hero in the Marvel Universe that can do it, that can take Thanos on one-on-one. And they're talking about how do we use her in this movie, and I personally
not overpower her
because they don't
to the point.
They don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
And we've talked about the idea of she's not going to be in the movie much for various reasons. The biggest of which is the filming aspect. They were filming Endgame and Captain Marvel at the same time, which is why you don't see much of Black Panther in Infinity War, because they were also filming Black Panther at that time. What does he have, 5 minutes of screen time, something like that?
Maybe a little more, but that's not it.
And
very, very, very little.
That's a really interesting concept that we've been really talking about without actually naming it. We've talked about a few times, this idea. What do you guys think? How are the Russo brothers going to handle this? And is it a mistake? We've never answered this question. Is it a mistake to have a character so powerful that can take on Thanos one-on-one?
I think I have one way or another. I think the Russos will figure it out. I mentioned before the podcast, even with Infinity War, they did a very good job with Vision balancing him. The very beginning, they just make it so that this scepter could pierce him, and he's just ambushed. And now he's a weakened character for the rest of the movie, and I think Vision I like Vision, but he's a very overpowered character.
I think Vision's way dumbed down.
And I think it was done on purpose.
Well, yeah, of course.
Because with the Russos' comment about Captain Marvel, they don't want a character who is so overpowered that this is not even going to be a challenge for the character. So they're going to figure out something that they can exploit with Captain Marvel. I don't know if it's going to be something with her powers, that she has some sort of weakness, or if it's something psychological that she has to deal with in this movie. But it's like, who knows, maybe her cat dies or whatever. Or
no! I'll kill you.
But I'm just saying, I don't know if there's something she has to deal with that is a challenge for her in this movie. But I think the Russos will write around it, or I still hold to my theory that I think she dusts in her credit scene.